The Converted Man here. Today's meme: you are not an atheist, you are an agnostic. So, this is not as common as many of the memes that I've talked about in this series, but it still is present, and I think it warrants some discussion. So, I've run across some theists who will say and or type that you're not an atheist because an atheist is someone who denies the existence of God. You don't know whether there's a God or not, so you're really an agnostic. William Lane Craig is the most famous person that has done this. He did it in his argument against Hitchens, his first one. I don't recall if he did it in his second one. But he made this argument that, well, you're not really an atheist, you're agnostic, because you're not really saying there is no God, you're just saying that you don't believe in a God and you don't know if there is a God, so that's agnostic. Who cares? Who cares about the label? And this, of course, is a red herring. It's irrelevant. And I guess the only thing that they hope to accomplish is to say, you don't even know what you really are, therefore something. I don't know what the conclusion is, but it's like, you're not really that. You don't even know what you are, so somehow that hurts your argument. Ad hominem, I guess. Poisoning the well, muddying the waters. Definitely it's a red herring and irrelevant. So it's just, who cares? Okay, so you can point to different dictionaries and you can say, here's what the definition of atheist is. And somebody else can point to a slightly different dictionary and say, no. Here's what the definition of atheist is. Now, most dictionaries are in agreement. But if you go to the philosophical dictionary and, say, Webster's dictionary, you might be able to get slightly different definitions. And so you'll be able to try to make a case that, no, see, this is really the definition. Okay, so this is the natural language problem. Who gets to decide what the definition is? We do. Humans do. People do. Groups do. So, if atheists, by and large, decided to become proactive, we could campaign and write different dictionaries in massive, and it would have to be a large, significant amount of numbers, and say, we want this definition added. We want the definition added to, say, lack of belief in God or gods. And eventually, the dictionaries will change to reflect the growing number of atheists who are saying, no, this is what atheism means to us. But that process will be slower than the campaigning process would be to get the dictionaries changed. It will eventually change on its own because of the large number of atheists that says, no, this is what the definition is. What's more important, whether it be in persuasionary dialogue or any kind of dialogue really, is not what the dictionary's definition is, it's what the individual's definition is. And this is the best way that I know of to attempt to avoid the natural language problem. What do you mean when you say this word? Okay, now that I've got that definition and I've written it down and I can see what it is, I understand what you mean by this word. If I want to use that word in a different way, maybe I could use a different word instead to make it clearer, or maybe we can say atheist 1 for my version and atheist 2 for your version, or something like that, so that we'll know whose version we're talking about, so that the natural language problem isn't so much of a problem. I have said multiple times on this channel, I am a skeptic. Because I'm a skeptic, I am an atheist. Because I am a skeptic, I am agnostic. I'm both of those, and they can combine in any way that they want to. I really don't care. The label doesn't matter to me. Capricious Black Box, who is a YouTuber out there, made this bold declaration that he was abandoning the word atheist and atheism. And a lot of people were irritated at that. A lot of people were upset about that. I just didn't care. I was like, yeah, so what? Doesn't matter to me. And the reason it doesn't matter to me is because he still fits the definition. He still doesn't believe in a god or gods. So there's no problem there. Campaigning for the idea that the word atheist is more acceptable in society is something that many atheists have taken upon themselves to do, to promote positive atheism. Well, I'm totally with you on that, but the more important battle to me is not the names. It's the logic or lack of logic. And everybody's going to have their most important battle that they focus on the most. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. Whether you call yourself a skeptic, an atheist, an agnostic atheist, agnostic, or whatever your definition is, if you lack a belief in God or gods, and you also lack a belief in the supernatural, and you also lack a belief in X, Y, and Z things because of whatever reasons, then there may or may not be a label to give yourself or to accept that reflects all of those things about you. Whether you want to label yourself or reject all labels, what matters is not the label. What matters is the content. What are your arguments, and are they logical? If they are not, we have to be skeptical about them, period. Doesn't matter if you are, quote, on my side or not on my side, end quote. Okay, that was too long of a quote. Anyways, you get my point. Okay, so, what is this meme? It's a red herring, it's irrelevant, who cares? It doesn't really matter, it doesn't forward the dialogue. We're off trying to talk about what atheism is, which in and of itself might be an interesting dialogue, but that's something that should be covered before the debate even takes place. Let's define our terms so that both people understand them, then let's go out there and debate. If we feel it's necessary, we'll tell the audience what those definitions are. So if you find yourself doing this meme, realize that it's just one giant red herring. You might think that it means a certain thing, and you might want them to agree to that definition, but they are under no obligation to agree with the dictionary's definition, whatever that definition is. I've looked at the definition of several different dictionaries, and they seem to be close enough to what I agree with. A not belief in gods. Rejection of a god or gods? Possibly. Depends on which version of God you're talking about. But don't tell me that I have to have a certain parameter to call myself anything. Because it's not true. There is no rule that says that that's the way it is. We humans have made the words. We humans get to decide what the words mean to us. So if you're doing this meme, stop doing this meme. If you know someone that does this meme, let them know that it's logically incoherent, and because it's logically incoherent, anything that follows based on that logical incoherency would be something that we would have to be skeptical of. You want to make a good presentation? Avoid logical fallacies. Because unless and until you have a logically coherent argument, we have to continue to be skeptical of your conclusion.